All right, so I've had a few requests on how to improve your overhead mobility for overhead squats, and in turn also for snatches. So I'm gonna demonstrate a few drills for skill and mobility that'll help you not only with your overhead position, but even keeping good, healthy squat form. If you've been in a functional fitness gym or a CrossFit type gym, you've probably gotten pretty familiar with a PVC pipe pass-through, okay? But there's a few things I want you to focus on doing your pass-through that will help your mobility and get you stretched out and ready for this overhead squat position. And if you're neglecting a key point, it could be pretty useless to do if you're not doing it correctly. So, like I said, you've probably been pretty familiar with the PVC pipe pass-through, so we're gonna go all the way around and touch that small of our back, okay? Now, you can see people busting these out real fast. There's no reason to go fast here. We're really just trying to warm it up, get our mobility going. But if you're going all the way back and then you feel like you need to bend your elbow here to get all the way, then you're kind of avoiding the purpose of this drill. We want to keep our elbow locked out because that's what it would be in our overhead squat position. And to get that good stretch all along here, keep the elbow locked out. I always tell my athletes, go as far as you can, keeping that elbow nice and straight. If this is as far as I can go, I'm gonna bring it back around. I wanna see you going slow and control with the elbows locked out as far as you can, right? Rather than bending and going here, because I'm bent and now I'm relaxed, not actually getting a really good stretch where I need it. Another drill with your PVC pipe, I call it our waiter position. So think about like a server or a waiter position, our hands are gonna go up. It's gonna point our elbows to the ground, and immediately, if you can see that happening, immediately it goes into rotating and locking out this area right underneath our arm. So take a PVC pipe or an empty broomstick of some sort. You're gonna get it on the palm of your hands. Now don't grip the bar. This is kind of like a little test to see where you're at, okay? My hands are gonna be flat here. I'm gonna press this PVC pipe overhead. Knees go out, butt goes back. I'm gonna go into my overhead squat, and it should be able to stay put. Now, if I go into my squat and it falls forward, then that tells me I have some work to do with where my center of balance is, if my arms are locked out in the proper position, if my core is tight, or if it's weakened and I'm leaning forward. So try that out and see where you are with your overhead squat balance. All right, so next we're gonna go into mobility. If you find that you're leaning forward, losing control of the bar, catching it forward, coming up onto your toes, the heels are coming up a lot, you feel like your ankles just won't work, or maybe you feel like you cannot push the knees out any further, good old handy dandy wall is a good way to test your mobility if you are ready for a healthy squat, but even more so if you're ready for a very controlled overhead squat. What does that turn into? A nice, healthy snatch. All right, so I'm gonna find myself right up against the wall, as close as I feel comfortable going. I would say just a few inches. So this is gonna drive my knees out. It's gonna keep my chest up. Start off with your hands to your side and see how far down you can go. The butt has to go back, right? I'm still flat on my feet. Bring it back up. You feel like you're nose diving into the wall, and that tells me what? It tells me you're leaning forward. All right, so chest, arms out. If you feel real advanced and ready for this and you feel like you have really awesome mobility, then put those arms straight up in the air, move a little bit closer. Go down to your squat. Your feet should still be flat. And up. How'd you do on that drill? All right, let's go to a little strength work. You have the strength to stabilize that weight with your wide snatch grip, your overhead grip. All right, let's test it out. So what I do is I put the bar right on my back, just like a regular back squat, getting my hands in my snatch grip, my overhead squat grip position. Just do like a regular push press, right? It's gonna come from behind my neck, dip and pop. Lock it out. Now press your palms to the ceiling. Don't let it lag and be lazy. Press it out at the top of every rep. Ready? Dip, pop, and lock it out. All right, you can do that for a few reps. Sometimes, when you're ready, or I shouldn't say sometimes, when you're ready, we're gonna go down into our squat and do these strict presses from behind our back. I'm in my squat position here. Press, lock, down. My feet are remaining flat on the ground. Press, lock. Do that for a few rounds. Have you caught that squat snatch and felt really wobbly and you're like, I caught it, but I couldn't stand it back up? You felt like you couldn't stabilize it, control it, and you just lost it at the bottom. But you had it, you were so close. Well, this next drill is actually one of my favorites. For some reason, I think it's really fun. So you're gonna get in your overhead squat position, sit at the bottom, and we're gonna wave back and forth, shifting the weight from foot to foot without letting our heel come up and keeping our overhead position locked and strong. I'm locked out, my knees are out, my feet are flat, and I'm gonna lean to the right. Notice both feet are still flat on the ground. And lean to the left. My arms are still really, really locked out, right? They're not feeling real shaky. I'm in a great locked out position. Feel the barbell in the palms of my hand, but I can lean back and forth, get everything fired up, get my ligaments ready to go. Test your mobility there. Time to talk a little bit more about a healthy squat. So, another thing is, you'll get in the bottom of an overhead squat or bottom of your squat snatch, and then you'll feel shaking because your knee dipped in, right? Your knees don't feel stable. So this next tool is actually really great for building the strength and getting the mechanics going to where your knees go out nice and strong, tracking right over your big toe without you even having to think about it anymore. So work these into your warm-up before any squat day. Just kind of like a lightweight to medium type of resistance band. You're gonna put both feet in, walk it out till you feel a little bit of tension building up. It's gonna be the outside of my kneecaps. All right, to help you stay upright, if you have trouble with that, you can put your hands up. Get your core braced nice and tight, butt's gonna sit back, and my knees are actively pushing this out. Push the band out. Again, heels, your entire foot staying pretty flat on the ground. Your big toes should be gripping to the ground, your heels should be on there, and your knees are going out. Chest is staying up. Notice I'm not coming down in here. Chest up, knees out, pressing against the bands. Let's dive into specifically the snatch movement a little bit more. All right, so there's a whole warm up here. We usually do our dip. We're popping up to our toes, going to our shrug. I always cue, like you're saying, I don't know, when you shrug your shoulders, that what should be happening in that first part of that pull, okay? Now, the difficulty I find for most people comes when we want to do our elbows high and out. So a lot of people are still letting their bar fly really far out in front of them, which when it flies far out in front of you and you go to catch it, you're gonna feel like you're falling forward a little bit. So think about elbowing people behind you, right? I don't know, two people you kind of dislike. Hate's a strong word, so we'll say kind of dislike. But we're gonna elbow two people behind us, and what that's gonna do is pull that bar in close and not out in front of me to where I have to run and catch it. It'll pull it out close, and from there I'm just going to punch up to the seat. So this is the flaw that I see all the time. People will dip, go for a good shrug, but when we go for elbows, their elbows come from their bar is way out here, dip, and they're way out in front of them, and that's gonna cause them to run up to catch, okay? I want to elbow people behind me and keep that bar nice and close to my body. It is pretty much over my toes at that point. That's exactly where I want it. So when my elbows go behind me, the bar stays close, and I can catch it right over my center. Again, elbows up, bar is close, bar is close, bar's gonna be close, and punch. There we go. If you're still feeling a little tight with all of this, I have one more good stretch that I really like to do, even for like my thoracic spine, which is gonna be the middle area between my shoulder blades, but also get this whole head through the whole extension warmed up. Anytime I tell you to do a stretch, I always want you to do something small to get it warmed up first. I don't want you to stretch your cold muscles, but when you're ready to go, you're gonna put your palms flat up against the wall. Your feet should be slightly outside of your shoulders. All right, and a slight bend in my knee, but my knees are gonna stay there for the rest of the time. My elbows are locked out because in my overhead position, my elbows are always locked out. And I'm gonna drive my head through the hole and let my belly kind of fall to the ground to get the curve in my spine. Hold it for a few seconds, relax, and come up. Well, those are just some basic pointers for that wide overhead position for your overhead squat, for your snatch, and a little bit of pointers on a healthy and controlled squat. If you have any comments or something else you'd like me to go over to help you, I'd love to help. Shoot me a DM or a comment or a message, whatever. Get in touch with me, and I hope you got something out of today's video.